Bank of Canada is set to meet again on September 6th, and of course the question on everybody's mind, are they going to increase the key interest rate again?
You can't keep getting away with it!
As most people know by now, the Bank of Canada has been in this battle with inflation for almost 18 months. But inflation has proven to be more persistent than most people thought that it would be. The most recent inflation report shows that inflation has ticked up again, now sitting at 3.3%, which is above that 3% upper threshold in the acceptable range. Now, as a result of that, we've seen an increase in bond pricing, suggesting that the market is pricing in some kind of future rate hike, although it's not necessarily guaranteed that we'll see one. What that does mean, though, is that for those looking for fixed rate mortgages, they can expect to see an increase, at least in the short term, in those rates. There are some people that are predicting that by the end of the year, we're going to see 5-year fixed mortgages as high as 6%. Right now, they sit under 5.5%. But whether or not that's the case will actually depend on data that hasn't come out yet between now and then. Basically, the only thing that's for certain is that fixed rate mortgages are about to go up now. I will say this though, this last month's worth of inflation numbers that just came out really frustrates me. There are many Canadians right now struggling to get by and struggling to put food on their table. And yet, there's a meaningful portion of the food prices that are directly related to the carbon tax. This right here is probably one of the best explanations I've heard of just how much the carbon tax has been affecting our grocery bills.
Farmer pays a carbon tax. The truck that picks up the farmer's food pays a carbon tax to take to the processor. The processor pays a carbon tax. The truck that picks it up from the processor to take it to the grocery store pays a carbon tax. The grocery store pays a carbon tax, and then Canadians can't pay for food. Carbon tax causes inflation.
Now I get it. I get the whole save the earth thing. We as citizens of this earth should be doing things to save and protect our planet. After all, we only get one. But first of all, I don't think the carbon tax does it, which is why many of the countries that implemented the carbon tax in the first place has since repealed it. And second of all, there is a time and a place to have that battle, and I just don't think now is the time. I mean, if it was up to me and I had to pick between people eating and slightly more emissions in the world, sorry, but I'm gonna pick the people eating, and I try to find some other way of resolving those emissions. The other side of this too that's been making it a little bit more tricky for the Bank of Canada, as people have been mentioning in some of my comments, is that the very act of raising the interest rates has also been inflationary. Traditionally, the way that you battle inflation is through an increase in interest rates, because in doing so, you increase the cost to consume goods and services through debt. Less demand means lower prices. But the problem is that when you have really aggressive immigration policies, that doesn't mean that just because you have decreased demand, that demand is now suddenly lower than supply. Demand can still be higher than the supply out there, which is particularly true in the housing market. So what you end up with in a situation like that is with each and every rate increase, so too does mortgage carrying costs, and so too does rent, because the price of the home isn't necessarily falling in correlation, because there's still enough substantiated demand there. You know what else? People who subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and hit the bell notification so that they're alerted when new videos come out, report being 50% happier. Couldn't make that up.